Hey everybody, welcome back to DEFCON Aftermath. We're taking a look at defenders and controllers in this series, trying to figure out which of these classic archetypes is better at supporting your team. And in today's episode, we're going to be following up from the last installment where we presented Radiation Emission and proposed to you these two different characters, Despina and Trinkulo, and asked the question, which of them would be better to help your team out. So in order to answer that question, of course, we need to get into what is Trinkulo all about, what's his build looking like, etc. So we introduced the idea of his concept and his play style. He's going to be this frontline, debilitating control character, leveraging a combination of his electrical control, specifically conductive aura, in combination with radiation emissions, choking cloud, throwing in some minus endurance, and the various controls that you have from the power set, and the debuffing toggles from radiation to just blanket a clustered area with a bunch of control and debuff so that he and his teammates can stomp the enemy. And today we're going to dive into his mids build. How am I slotting this thing? What are the powers I'm picking? What are the numbers behind it? What's he going to do? And then we're going to go ahead and run a little solo action. Just some basic radio paper style missions. Go through some strategies, talk some tactics, etc. to see what he's all about. So let's go ahead and dig in good for our mids build. So here is Trinkulo's mids build. Let me zoom in on that for you. There we go. Let's see what I have chosen to do with this combination. Now, I discussed this a little bit in the matchup video. The main idea for this guy is pretty straightforward. Let's scoot that over a little bit so we can illustrate something. So the whole concept, and I don't want to say the concept as in the character concept, but just the mechanical concept, is there were two powers that I like from both radiation and from electrical control, and I asked the question, well, what would happen if you combine them? So here's the basic plan. Grab my pencil tool here. If we have our good friend Trinkulo standing here, 1 second. Get this thing set up for us. There we go. Should be working now. Get my pencil tool. Pencil. No. 1 second again. All right. I got it working this time. So anyway, as I was saying, the couple powers I'm looking at for Trinkulo revolve around his two PBAoE auras. So here's Trink, and one of them is from your control set that is Conductive Aura. So Conductive Aura goes around and it mainly has a minus endurance effect on your enemies, and it has some buffing capability for yourself. Writing too big there. So there we go. Trink. Here's Trinky. He's got his Conductive Aura around him, and it's giving you some minus endurance and then recovery, and is it endurance boosting? We'll take a look at it in a second. But anyway, that's kind of one idea, right? So people get around you, they start getting drained. And then the other power I'm combining this concept with is from radiation, and that is going to be your choking cloud. Which has a hold that it applies, no debuffs. But the idea being this, if I can get my enemies tight around me, they're going to start getting held by the cloud, and then they're going to be getting drained by the endurance. And if they stay there long enough, debilitated by the hold, for instance, it'll be enough time that the minus endurance will stack enough that they won't have any endurance left. And at that point, they're mine to destroy. And I'm also going to combine that idea with static field, which is a patch power that I'm going to lay underneath myself that also has some minus endurance. It has some sleep effect to it. It's got a minus speed, minus recharge. So that's going to be under me, applying additional control additional debuff. And then on top of all that, I'm just starting to conceive all these things. I throw my toggle debuffs on the guys next to me. That's the minus defense, the minus resistance, the minus to hit, the minus damage. So I can create this entire just zone of debilitation and control, point blank, danger close, right on top of Trinkulo. That is the concept for this guy. Get in there with all this debuffery and nonsense and just layer it so that the enemy can't do anything. Now, that's on paper. Whether or not this works is what we want to find out, at least today in the solo testing. But just wanted to throw that out there so you know how or why the rest of the slotting is the way it is, based upon what I'm trying to, my overall goals for this guy. All right, so let's take a look at what I've ultimately done then. So, from electric control, I took everything but the chain confuse. I've mentioned a couple times about confuses that I'm okay with confuses, but I just, in this particular build, I don't see it being super useful to what I'm trying to do. This whole idea of getting in there and laying it down. So having some confused guys around me is that sure would be nice, but the thing about the confuse is it's a range thing usually, right? So you're probably wanting to stay back, throw the confuse at range first, let it bounce around, and then engage. But I'm not waiting around, right? I'm going to go in there. So that's why I didn't really see it as a useful power for this particular build. If I was playing more of a standoff style electric control, then yeah, I would go for it. Then we have radiation. And again, I mentioned this in the matchup video, and I mentioned this in other videos about my dislike for res powers that are just single target, and that's kind of all they do. So I did not take mutation, and I didn't take fallout because that's a single target explosion on a dead body. Because whenever I'm playing a support character, my goal is not to have you die in the first place. So why would I take powers that are if you died? So I didn't take either one of those, and this frees me up to take everything else, with the main thing being that choking cloud I want. I want that choking cloud. That's going to pair up nicely with that conductive aura, like I already said, and the static field. And then I'm able to throw in the radiation infection enervating field on top of everything. Lingering radiation is going to become another key power because that's going to be something you throw on top of a bunch of clumped up guys to give me the minus speed, the minus recharge, I think, on that one. And it's got the minus regen. So I can just, those 5 powers just combining are going to be his bread and butter concentrated doom for his enemies. Now, he isn't going to do much damage with any of that stuff other than some damage procs, but if I can get everything lumped together, then I can start to whittle it down, because that's what you're going to have to do as a solo player. You have to whittle things down. You don't have a lot of damage coming out of electric control from what I've experienced. And radiation control, yeah, you don't have much damage there at all. Again, unless you start damage procking things, which I did a little bit of that. But mainly I'm going to rely upon my teammates to do the damage, because that's what this guy is. He's a team support controller. He's going to be more of a tank troller build. He's going to get in there and mix it up and try to hold aggro, so to speak, on top of his patches and his debuffs and things. All right, so that's the overview. Now, if we take a look at the individual powers I took, I went ahead and grabbed Test the Cage as my first pick right out of the box. That's your standard hold. And I went ahead and took the decimation set. I didn't put the chance to build up in this. I wanted it maxed out for all the other stats. So I've got, max damage, as much accuracy as I can get, endurance recharge. Jolting chain is where I put the chance to build up. So I have another decimation set sitting down here. So I did double up on decimation. You're going to get resistance, energy negative, hit point boosting, maximum endurance boosting, and some recharge boosting. So I have, some of the standard things you'd want out of any build. Recharge, I did get a little bit of it as, best I could, but I was not chasing recharge on this particular build. Most of my builds, I'm not chasing it unless I'm a dominator, unless there's some really uber power that I want to get up as often as I can. I'm not going to just go balls to the walls on recharge unless I have those reasons. All right, so I've got Test the Cage, I got Jolting Chain identically slotted, And I put the build up in Jolting Chain. I'm going to use it probably more than Tesla Cage because I like to just open and keep firing Jolting Chain with all the knockback that it does. And it's not a great damaging power, but at least I'm going to have that chance to build up over and over again. And that's what I'm hoping for. So if I open with this, get the build up, then I'll start getting the damage boosting from that build up. What's the chart? Chance to build up 10 seconds. That's pretty good, right? You get a 10-second chance to boost some damage and to hit, and that'll then hopefully stack with containment after that. Then Electric Fence is my other big attack that I've got going on here. So I've got a couple single targets, and then Electric Fence is my third single target. I went ahead and put a purple set in here, and this is the one that has Apocalypse with the chance to negative damage, so I'm getting some more oomph out of this thing. I'm getting some more recharge with the slotting, regen, hit points, damage boosting, so I've got a little bit extra on this guy. You can see I'm maxing out the damage on these single target attacks for the most part. And I got that chance to build up, and you got the containment firing. Then my other bread and butter attack that you see I've got slotted is my chain fences. This is my AoE immobilize. I've got one of the control sets in there, and this is the one that has the chance to psionic damage. So the superior will of the controller, damage boosting, enhancement to your controls, accuracy, some more recharge, and then I have bombardment chance for fire. So I have a couple of damage procs in this one to give it a little extra kick. So there's my main attack chain, right? Attack, 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 right? Get some end drain. I get some damage, get some knockdown, immobilize, hold. I just keep pumping away with those 4 powers, either single target, or I can get some AoE out of this because the chain fences and jolting chain will hit multiple targets. All right, so that covers my main 4 powers out of electric control. Then we get to Conductive Aura. That's my next one. I've got that over here, and I have it slotted more on the regen side of things. Let's take a look at the numbers on this so you can see what I'm looking for. Let me zoom in. All right, so here is Conductive Aura, and it does have the minus endurance on it. I'm not sliding it for endurance, even though that is one of my main goals out of this character, but he's actually not a pure sapper build. He's more built for some damage and a lot of control and some good debuffing. I'm not purely just trying to drain endurance. If I was, I'd have a bunch of endurance mod sets slotted in all these attacks rather than the damages. So I'm not going for that. I am going for survivability because I do have to get into melee a lot. So you see I've got Conductive Aura slotted with 4 of the preventative medicines with the chance to absorb. So I'm going to be going into melee. And the absorb proc should fire if I start taking a lot of damage. So that's the one when your health gets low, it fires off. And then I've also got the power transfer chance to heal. So I think this is just firing automatically. I don't even need a hit check, but we'll double check that when I'm in my solo mission. I forget some of these ones you need, if it's in a static power, it'll just fire. Like if I put that in my stamina, it would just fire. When I put it in a Conductive Aura that is getting the endurance from attacking enemies, I think the proc will only fire when I'm engaged in combat. So we need to take a look at that one because maybe that one needs to be moved out of this power somewhere else. Maybe I throw it in stamina. I don't know. But right now I've got it in there for some extra survivability because it gives me some chance to heal. All right, so then we take a look at the overall numbers on this thing. Let me go ahead and shut this off. So it is showing on mids the chance to heal firing. So at least on mids it should fire. But I think it has to be in contact with enemies, which is fine because that's where I'm going to be anyway. The endurance drain is the 10 seconds that you see. And then the other stuff is to show the regeneration rate on this one. Doesn't look like it. So you do get recovery, you do get regen, but it's not showing those numbers. Let me see if this makes it. Nope, doesn't actually show them. I think it's a per enemy. So anyway, I'm hoping that I have this thing capped out on the heal absorb side of things, so it should be giving me peak plus regen, I think. Let me pull up City of Data real quick to see if it's worth doing this, or I might need to rethink slotting on this power. All right, here's the City of Data numbers on it. So for the controller, we're looking down here. The regen value is 5%. So I've got that, I believe, effectively doubled. So 5% for me is sort of my cutoff for whether or not it's worth slotting something. Like if it's less than 5%, I typically don't bother trying to slot for that effect because it's just really hard to get anything valuable out of it. So 5% is a little bit low, but it's ticking every, 2.25 seconds. So I think the way I've got it slotted should give me a 10% regen boost every 2.25 seconds. So every 2.25 seconds, 10% of the way I understand this working, I don't know if it's regenerating your 10% of your total hit points, or is it 10% of your regeneration rate is boosted? And that's my question. If it's total hit points, this is pretty solid. If I've got 1,000 hit points, then I'm going to get 100 HP regenerated every 2.25 seconds if I'm getting a 10% boost. If it's only 10% of my regeneration rate, well, then it's not so hot. So I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe it's your total HP, though. It's based upon your max HP. So if you can boost your HP up, then your regeneration rate should be better. Plus, you've got health regeneration and any other powers that are giving you regeneration. So I believe this is your total number, not just that individual stat or the rates. All right, so that is what Conductive Aura is about. So it's about survivability, regeneration, the absorb procking, and the heal procking from it. Then our next power we've got is Static Field, which is your little patch power. So I'm going to pull this one up. Again, notice I'm not slotting this thing for endurance draining. I'm not slotting it for sleep. Now, this may be something I need to revisit because sleeps have been buffed in the latest update to the game. So maybe I should be slotting this with sleep, but instead I went with pacing of the turtle on it. And pacing of the turtle gives me some more damage resistance, gives me some slow boosting and some accuracy boosting. And I have the chance for minus recharge proc in here as well, because I think that's something I can take advantage of with this overall build. So this is going to proc a minus 20% recharge debuff 3.5 times a minute. So drop the patch on some fools. They're going to take some sleep. They're going to take some good minus recharge, some movement, slowing, etc. If we zoom in on the effects here, get my pop-out window. There we go. So here's what we're looking at. And let me shut off my Incarnate stuff so that we're not masking anything here or making it seem any better. So we've got the sleep effect. You've got the slow effect. There is some minus endurance. So here's an example of, I could slot this thing for minus endurance, but it's only 3%. So even if I crank this thing up to maximum minus endurance, it's, maybe it's minus 6%, 5%, something like that. Is that really going to be useful if it's, only proccing that every few seconds? I don't think so. I'd rather go for what it's really good at, which is slow. So I'm really cranking the minus speed on this thing. And so I'm hopefully between that minus recharge that it comes with, the slow, and then when I proc the minus recharge, I can do a minus, 50% recharge, and a bunch of people sitting in this patch, and they're slowed to death, and they're bleeding some endurance. Okay, they're going to not be able to move because their movement speeds are jacked up, and they're sitting in my Conductive Aura, which is also draining them simultaneously. Okay, so that's kind of the main controlling things I'm looking at with just those two powers. Then if we keep moving, we'll go on to Tesla Coil. So here is, I believe this power has been remastered for since the latest updates. So let's see what's going on here. So it does have your standard AoE hold, and the duration I've got it at 22 seconds or so. I've got a Basilisks in there, 4 slotted, gives me some more recharge, gives me some more recovery, some defense. And the effects are, let's see, movement speed. Yeah, okay. And then the other reason I put the basilisks in there, I have another chance to recharge slow sitting in this one, so 25% chance to proc that. So you're seeing that buff down here, 25. Plus it has its own minus 30%. It's got some more movement, debuffing of jump height. We got recovery debuffing for the first time. We got more minus endurance. So we've got stackable debuffing with Tesla coil now, static field, conductive aura. I'm really nuking the enemy's ability to maneuver, right? They can't go anywhere. And I don't really necessarily need to be in melee with them to affect this because static field and Tesla coil are both ranged. Conductive aura, I forget the what is it? The radius of this is 20 feet, so I technically don't need to be right next to you. So I could affect a lot of enemies with these debuffs just by being close to them. So that's the idea. That's the goal there. Then we're going to move on to, I didn't take Synaptic Overload, but I have Gremlins. I already talked about them a bit in the matchup video. I have them slotted here with a Expedient Reinforcement set. This has regen, recharge again, some more damage resistance. So again, I'm getting as much recharge as I can because I do want these control powers popping. I do want, accelerate metabolism recharging. I do want E-impulse recharging quickly. I want lingering radiation recharging quickly. So I have that thing slotted pretty good. I threw in the resistance bonus aura for the pets to give them a little bit more, uh, uptime, I guess, especially with the 801 enemies attacking. And the Gremlins have, some punchy stuff. They got a bunch of minus endurance. They do have some knockdown with their own jolting chains. So that should help stack some soft control on targets along with my own powers. So that's the rundown of what I've got for electrical control. Pretty good combination of powers. You're going to get a lot of minus endurance across the board. You're going to get some damage out of it. You're going to get some good debuffing out of it. And you can just stack a bunch of stuff in an area. Now, when we combine with radiation, that's where I think the money is going to be made. So radiation, I got it, everything but the two, heal resi powers. So got rid of that. Radiant aura, there's your PBAoE heal. Again, nothing super crazy special about that. I have it slotted with 4 doctored wounds. Bonuses on this one, some more damage resistance and some boost to heal. Then radiation infection is my first toggle, the minus defense, minus to hit. I slotted mine with the Dark Watchers. And notice again, what did I put in it? I put in the chance to recharge debuff. So I've got a proc for that. So I'm really trying to leverage as much of this minus recharge and slowing as I can. The boosts on this, let me scoot this up so you can see the numbers. Move that up. So the numbers are this: hit points, recovery, and some more recharge with 4 slotting. And then the actual debuff free, I've got it 53% boosted. The totals, if we look at that, minus to hit, let me zoom in for you. You've got minus to hit of 38%. There's the proc of minus 25% damage, and it's got a 25% defense debuff. So, getting into that melee range, throwing these toggles out there, having my patch sitting there, having my auras going. Now I've got all this minus recharge capability just stacking on a bunch of people from multiple, powers. So I should be able to increase my mitigation, my time in melee, my ability to survive that close contact, because once I grab hold of these enemies, if they're not knocked down, if they're not slept, if they're not held, they're now getting end drained. They now have minus to hit on them. They now have a bunch of minus recharge and a bunch of minus movement speed. I think on a team scenario, this should be golden. As long as, the tank is got stuff locked on them, I can get right next to them and start to unleash this debuffery and debilitation. The problem is going to be ranged attacks, so I'm going to need to watch line of sight as best I can, and the other problem is going to be AoE incoming. or just AoE from the melee folks, because they might not be targeting me. They're targeting the tank, and I'm standing right next to them. So I do need to have that survivability, even though I'm not the primary target. So hopefully, just over time, the melee threat will be neutralized. So really, hopefully, he's going to come down to just range, and if I just kind of keep, uh, broken line of sight around a corner type of thing, keep those angles as sharp as I can, I should be surviving. No big deal. Knock on wood. Then our next power is accelerate metabolism. Here I did go for that recovery boosting. You'll notice that I'm also running a lot of toggles on this character. So I do need to make sure I've got some mitigation on the endurance side of things. So I have accelerate metabolism slotted up for that feature. So we've got, capped out endurance modification and recharge on this thing, because I do want accelerate metabolism popping off as much as I can. The current recharge is down from 422 to 141, and the power's duration is 120. So at this point, I've got about a 20-second delay, so it's near perma, and I don't have my incarnates activated. Incarnates, I think, are actually going to push me up to perma AM on this one. So I'm just kind of just see. I do have ageless as an example. So I click ageless. Yeah, now it's perma. Okay, so that'll help me get this thing locked in place nonstop. So I did get a good chunk of recharge. I didn't go over the top on it, but I have a good amount of it. You can see that in my totals. My overall recharge is looking at 97.5. So, if you can get around 100% recharge on a build, your AM is going to be darn close to perma. But looking at the numbers on it, accelerate metabolism. Here's what the bonuses are going to be. Recoveries, 60%. Boosted movement speed, 60%. MES resistance, 173. And then the resistance to effects, the recharge time boosting, the damage boosting, those numbers are down here. As far as what slots I have in there, preemptive optimization, I got a pair of those, gives me maximum endurance boosting. I threw a synapses shock in there. I got one of those. So I pretty much frankness out of this thing to get as much recharge as possible. Energy manipulation, endurance recharge, and then efficacy adapter, endurance recharge. So end recharge, end recharge, end recharge, end recharge, and then the end recharge. So max that out as best I could. Got it cranking. All right, that is your AM. Enervating field is your other debuff toggle. So let's take a look at that. I have this one just slotted with a single level 50 plus 5, so it's level 55 enhancement with the boosters. Let me scoot that down so you can see it again. Intervening fields, this is level 55, so nothing special about it. You can't slot it for anything else anyway, because you can't slot minus damage and you can't slot minus resistance. So this is kind of a strong power that requires minimal slotting. If I had an extra slot, I'd throw another 50 in here just to, make it so that it's essentially a free toggle, because right now it is costing me, 0.3, which is a little bit thirsty. Not too bad, of course, but better than the 0.5. But if you're running that toggle, you're running radiation infection, you're running choking cloud, you're running your charged armor, you're running, let's see, I don't think Conductive Aura has any endurance costs now. So I've got, I think, like 5 toggles possibly running. Tough I'm running, which I'll get to in a second. But anyway, I've got some toggles, so I need to get as much endurance mitigation as I can out of this build. All right, then I have lingering radiations, my next power. I have that one slotted with another pacing of the turtle, another chance for the minus recharge in here. So I'm really going after the minus recharge effect, as you can see. So pacing of the turtle, got these numbers here. You've got the slow of 370%. The power, let me shut that off for a second. So the minus 500 regen on it, the 370 slow effect on it. It doesn't show, so it should be over here. Debuff is 75. Yeah, so the recharge is 75% out of the box. Recharge debuff with the proc. I've got another chance for 20. So that's like, 95% recharge. And I've got it in all these other, 3 other powers at this point. Static field has it. Radiation infection has it. What is this? Sleep patch, I think, has it natively on top of that. Tesla coil, I had another recharge. So I got a bunch of minus recharge on this build that is just going to stack and amplify what your normal powers are doing. So I'm taking that prototypical electric control sapper concept and still kind of using that, but I'm not focusing on that. Instead, I'm using the powers to give me a different angle that electric control brings to the table and radiation brings to the table, a whole bunch of minus recharge. So the concept here is I'm layering a whole bunch of debuffing and soft control everywhere I can for survivability. So it'll be interesting to see how this all works out. Then we've got our friend combat teleport. So here's where things get spicy. Well, pause on that. Let's circle. Let me finish up radiation because I think you know where I'm going with this just by spoiler alert. Choking cloud. Let's finish up radiation. I almost spilled the beans. Choking cloud, right? Here's my hold power. Auto hit hold, right? Don't ask me why, but it is. So auto hit hold, and I've got lockdown in it, so a chance for mag 2. So now I'm going to be able to potentially proc hold bosses one shot on those puppies. Let me let me see what the holds are. So here are the normal holds, 2 and 1, and then I can proc another 2. And I think that what is it? Overpower fires on this one as well. So I believe, I don't know if that's showing here or not. I don't think it's showing here, but the controller should get their overpower on it as well. But anyway, with the lockdown proc, I've got a chance for hitting for mag 4 holds, and then if the overpower hits, that's what, another 1 or 2 mags. So I should be able to one-shot hold everybody I walk into outside of an elite boss. All right, so minions, lieutenants, bosses, and it's like auto hits, auto hold. Then I've got 2 neuronic shutdowns, chance for psi damage, so gonna do damage just walking in, gives me some smash lethal resistance. Then I've got Ghost Widows, chance for psi damage, single one of those, and then I went with the Superior Entomb, chance for absorb. So just by walking into contact with people, I should be proccing absorbs. So combine that with Conductive Aura's Preventative Medicine's chance to proc. Now, this is not an Preventative Medicine is a response to taking damage. But then I also have the Power Transfer's chance to heal just by standing in melee contact. So within melee contact, if these things fire the way I'm pretty sure they do, I'm getting heals, I'm getting absorbs. If I start taking too much damage, I'll get another absorb. Plus, I got all the debuffery going on, so it gives me more survivability even if I do get hit. And the amount of attacks I'm taking should be debuffed to hell and back as far as the recharge goes. So I'm getting maybe 1 set of attacks on me before my controls and debuffs take hold. All right, then we got EM Pulse is my last power that we'll take a look at. So we've got that up here. It's slotted just with 3 things. Lockdown, so Franken slotted this one, AC and recharge hold. Through the Superior Entomb in there, AC, hold, endurance, recharge, and then the Gladiators, AC, and recharge, hold. So I'm maximizing those 4 main categories there, accuracy, endurance, the recharge, and the hold time in this one. So it's going to give me a decent, almost 50 seconds of up to like a mag 3 hold on this thing. So it's going to be pretty disgusting if this all fires simultaneously, which it should. So those are my 2 core sets I'm looking at. Now, let's start to do some spoiler stuff. Our next thing, before I get into the full-on spoiler, is going to be my ancillary epic set. So if you, let me scoot this up here, take a look, and let me close this for a second. I've got Mew Mastery. I didn't take Power Sync. Again, I'm not really going after the minus endurance as a full-on concept. This is not a sapper build. It's going to sap, but it's not a sapper build. If I was going for that, I would have taken Power Sync for sure. Right? I would wade right into melee, and between all the other drain I got, then go and hit a Power Sync, it's game over. Instead, I went for, the charged armor for some resistance, because this is a resistance build. So here's charged armor. I've got titanium coating in here, damage resistant hit points, and smash lethal resistance. I've got Ball Lightning for some AoE damage. I've got that slotted with Ragnarok. And I've got the chance for knockdown. So I've got knockdown from this power. I've got knockdown from my Jolting Chains going on. So that should give me some more mitigation. It's going to give me some damage. It's going to give me some endurance draining. And then the slotting on this thing, recovery, resistance to fire cold, accuracy, recharge boosting. I went with Surge of Power as my oh crap power. So I do have some, again, additional survivability because I have to worry about this. I'm going in melee a lot. So I took the tier 9-ish power, Surge Power. I'm not a big fan because there is a crash. So I don't like the crash on this one, but I took it. Unbreakable Guard, got a couple slots in there. Recharge is the big thing I was trying because I want to make sure that this power gets back as often as I can. The recharge on it's actually pretty nice. Let me zoom in on this. So out of the box thing is 1,000-second recharge, but with my slotting currently, I've got it down to 389. So that's pretty nice. And you'll see right now my totals. Defense, what defense? I don't have any. Resistance is the only place I'm doing well, and I have, cap levels of smash lethal. Energy's pretty solid. So Surge of Power is going to help me, right? It's going to boost all of my numbers up into cap range with the exception of Psionic. So I want this power up as much as possible. Okay. All right, so then what else are we looking at here? Then I've got the Summoned Guardian from Mew Mastery, and this is going to give me another pet to go with my 2 Gremlins. The Guardian, I've got it slotted with Call to Arms bonus aura for pets. So I've got the 2 different bonus auras between Expedient Reinforcement and the Call to Arms. Recovery, hit points, recharge, and smash lethal resistance. So another pet. I believe the Guardian has a heal, so that will be useful. Not the greatest heal, of course. He's not running around spamming a thing. He's also got some controls, as I recall. Let me actually pull that up so we can see it. What the Guardian's going to do for, because this is kind of the part of the linchpin here. If we go Summon Guardian, Mew Mastery. All right, he's got Lightning Bolt, so range attack, Lightning Blast. I think that's a ranged attack. Does it have a control? Minus recovery, minus endurance. All right, so Lightning Bolt and Lightning Blast. Couple of attacks with minus endurance, minus recovery. Sentinel of Lightning, that is his little Sparky that he summons that is going to shoot electric bolts and has an electrical field around it. Okay, interesting. So I got kind of a little pseudo pet. Then there's Touch of the Storm. This is the heal, and I don't know what what's the recharge on this thing? Every 20 seconds. So you can potentially have a heal every 20 seconds, range of 80 feet, and it's decent. 200 some. It's as good as your single click heal. And then the EMP, which is like your EMP. So big old zap, endurance. People are held. Recharge 3,000 seconds. So he's using this once in his entire career. Hopefully he does it while he's in a big group of enemies. I don't know what the trigger is on this guy, but that is something to hopefully take advantage of in a clustered fight. All right, so there are the 3 main power sets I'm going for. Now, let's take a look at some of the pool powers, because here is where things are going to get a little bit cray-cray. And I think you guys already spoiled what I'm going to do here. All right, let's start with one of the obvious ones. So I went ahead, because I know I'm going to be in melee a lot, I went ahead and grabbed the fighting pool. I didn't go super deep in it. I took one of the requirements, boxing, which is just a throwaway power, so whatever on that one. And then I did go ahead and take Tough. Tough has smash lethal resistance, so this was my 47 and 49 pick on this build. And with Tough, I went ahead and slotted it with Impervious Skin, and I took the status resistance regeneration proc on that one, the unique power, so that'll give me a little bit more survivability, of course, and it gives me some more smash lethal, global resistance. So it's not super well slotted, but that's what's getting me up to my cap smash lethal, because the charged armor isn't going to get you there. Let's give me another, what's the numbers on this one? Get another 17 smash lethal resistance out of that. So took that to cap my smash lethal, and I'm pretty close to electrical or energy damage. So those are the big 3 damage attacks. But I have to rely upon an active mitigation strategy. Debuffing, controlling. Then, aside from the fighting pool, I took the most dangerous, controversial possibly, although not for this build, uh, picks. I took the teleportation pool. And the main thing I want, of course, is fold space. And I think you all know why. Because if I'm standing here and I got dudes around me, and those dudes are standing in my debuff range, right? I've got my static field patch. I've got my 2 auras around me. I've got my toggles around me, right? This is a safe zone. But I mentioned this earlier. A big risk I have is ranged attackers, right? People with pew pew. So what do you do about that if they're range shooting you? Bring them in, right? I don't have taunts. I can't make them come to me with a taunt sort of thing. You can try to break line of sight, which of course you always want to try to do, but I'm like, screw it. This is the best place for enemies to be. For me, it's right next to me, right on top of me. So fold space is the solution. I can teleport, suck these guys in, and drop them off right on top of my debuff zone. Risky, right? Because I'm going to be having a shit ton of guys around me, but I have 16 target caps, so I'm not worried about it once they get there. I mean, how many times do you have 16 people around you? I'll probably have it with fold space. Now, this will be risky on the 801s because a lot of these enemies are high enough and strong enough that they're going to resist the fold space. Once you get into like the EBs and bosses at level 54, they don't teleport. But minions, lieutenants, lower level stuff, I can suck those in and just drop them off. The other reason I wanted teleport is combat teleport. Combat teleport allows you to leap into the action. So if I'm standing here and I do have these ranged guys attacking me, I can just jump over on top of them with my clouds going. And as soon as I land within a couple seconds, that starts to debuff and control people. So it allows me to get around the battlefield pretty quickly. And combat teleport's also nice because it has a bonus to hit. So when you use it, you get a 10% to hit bonus. And it's a nice place I can throw in Blessing of the Zephyr, some knockback protection. That little proccable unique power or unique set. All right, so there you go. That is the main slotting, the main powers I've taken. The last thing I want to talk about is of course, incarnates that go with this. And then let's look at the total number. So let's bump this up and see what we've got here. Incarnates. All right, so we have, I can move this up a little bit more. Scoot that up there. All right, so here we go. We've got numbers over here are not looking good, right? Let me zoom in on this. All right, so here are our total numbers. So this is how I sort of decide my incarnates is I look at where I'm weak and I also look at my theme and what I'm trying to do. So, hey, my incarnates, what are my weaknesses that I can fill? And then my theme, my strengths, what can I boost up? So weaknesses, I've got problems with defense, I got problems with resistance, survivability. So I need, some things if possible that I can use to boost that. And then theme, end drain, minus speed, minus recharge, controls, debuffing, that sort of stuff. So let's see what we can do with some incarnates to help this problem or make these strengths even better. First things first, in health before that, and stamina, I did take a couple of the unique. So I've got Panacea hit points endurance, and I've got the performance shifter 2-slotted, that one with the plus endurance, because endurance can be an issue with all these toggles running at one time and all the controls I'm spamming out there, especially if I'm spamming stuff like chain fences, which has pretty heavy endurance, and jolt and chain as well. But incarnate wise, what did I go with? So I ended up taking Vigor Radial Paragon, and this is going to boost healing. So I do have a heal, Radiant Aura. I do have Conductive Aura, the regen stuff. It's going to help with health. It should as well. So healing, accuracy. I do want to have accuracy. I do want to be able to hit with these controls. I want to be able to hit with lingering radiation, right? I want all my buffs, debuffs, whatever. So all my debuffs and attacks hitting. So I went with, I got the accuracy with vigor. And then endurance reduction, because again, I'm worried about endurance consumption. I got a lot of stuff going on. And then it also is going to boost my sleep. So I did take some Control E boosting. So when we go ahead and click this, let's see if it does anything to our master numbers. You can see regen and end drain are dropping. So let's take a look at our numbers, because I'm a big proponent of making sure my endurance can match my needs. So my recovery is 3.7, my drain is 1.4, and I try to get about a 3-to-1 ratio if possible. I'm about 2.5. Okay, so I'm about close. 2-to-1 is bare bones minimum, and I hate 2-to-1. Less 2-to-1, no, I won't do it. 3-to-1 is what I definitely shoot for if I can. So I'm decent there. I like that, because I'm a clicker. I like to spam my attacks and powers. I don't like to just hit 1 or 2 here and there and to stand around. Regen is decent, 200%. So vigor's helped me with that. The other thing I want to take a look at, is it doing stuff for Conductive Aura or not? It's not, again, it doesn't show the regen numbers on this one. So unfortunately I can't see, but Radiant Aura, it should definitely help that, right? So I got, 236 to 264. Not a huge boost, but it's helping. It's pretty much capping the amount of healing that Radiant Aura is going to do. And is it doing anything about health? If I click it, yeah, so my health regen goes up. So that's going to be useful for me. So anyway, if it's boosting health's regen, it should boost Conductive Aura's regen. That's vigor. Then I went on the hybrid side. I went ahead with support. So here's, my toggle hybrid: damage, accuracy, defense, and special. I like on a lot of my support characters to go with support hybrid for the obvious reason. It's going to boost. It acts like a leadership package, which I didn't take on this character. That's one thing on a lot of my support characters. I will take leadership, just get the, those extra bonuses. But on this guy, I went with that more aggressive, offensive, tanky style with the teleport pool instead and the fight pool. So support's going to help back up my deficiencies. So if we go ahead and look at totals with this, and the support gets clicked, now I have, I don't want to say great defenses, but, better than 0. Got 12% defenses. End reductions going up. My end drain numbers are going down. It's going to boost my damage, going to boost my accuracy, going to boost my special, right? Special, those heals and stuff like that, or control. So let's see if I can get a sniff of what this will do for, let's say, controls. All right, so if we take a look at the control numbers, this is Tesla Cage, my single target control. You can see my durations of the holds are jumping up a couple seconds. So that's, better than nothing again. Let's see what it does with Choking Cloud. Did we do anything? Yeah, so Choking Cloud's durations are going up for its hold, so that's going to be good. Tesla Coil, let's see what's going on there. We click it. So yeah, my controls are definitely getting boosted. Does it boost my static field? It should, right? Yeah, so sleep numbers are going up. It doesn't appear to have any effect on slows or any of the minus recharge stuff. What else can we look at? Does it boost end drainage? Let me go look over at Jolting Chain. Is it doing anything in a Jolting Chain? No. Who else can I look at for this? EM Pulse. Let me see what my EMP numbers look like with or without it. So about 50 seconds of hold. Without goes up to 53 seconds. You get about 4 seconds of additional hold time. So anyway, it's going to help with some of my controls. Chain fences, you can look at that. Immobilized numbers are going up to about a minute, 40 seconds to a minute, depending on which version you're looking at. So overall, help with the controls, help with the healing, making overall just safety an easier thing to get here. More accuracy, more damage. Let's see what it's doing to the damage numbers, if anything. If I look at the damage numbers with support, damage on, what is this, ball lightning I'm looking at? Ball lightning's damage, going up to, so I'm taking it up a little bit. Let me turn off containment. Yeah, it's kicking up. I got ball lightning pretty much cranked at this point, so that's why it's not a dramatic difference. But it's giving me a little bit titch more. Plus, I think this applies to your whole team: damage, accuracy, defense. Right? So everybody's getting this bonus. All right, back to the totals. Ageless, I already mentioned I have this because I wanted the recharge so I can get stuff cranking even faster. I wanted the recovery. I want the endurance because I'm going to be blowing through endurance and stuff pretty quick. So, accelerate metabolism. Let's look at the numbers on that. Accelerate metabolism's got 141 second. When I click this, it takes me down to 114. So I go to perma. All right, real nice. Boom. Then my other number, the other power I think I want a lot is lingering radiation. It's not as important, I think, on this guy as it is going to be on Despina, but still, recharge is 40 seconds. Now I'm down to 30. Duration's 30. So this makes lingering radiation perma for him. So I just keep spamming that dang thing. Beautiful. Fold space. What's the recharge on this? Because I need this to be popping off as well. Recharge is 47, 9, 37 seconds. So, what's that? Every spawn or so? Should be able to pull in some more TP, some more guys. TP mag is 4.1. So I don't know what boss's resistance is. I think it's probably 4, and then it goes up by the level difference at that point. So EBs probably have a TP resistance of 6. I don't think you're ever going to TP a. There should be a way to. Can you actually boost teleport, but with the teleport slotting? Because if you could, that'd be pretty sweet. Fold space. Let me just check something. Does it take? It doesn't even take teleport. At least according to mids, it doesn't. Anyway, that's ageless. Then for interface, I grabbed gravitic. This is going to go with, this goes to the theme idea. The strengths, right? It's giving me minus recharge, minus movement, and minus recovery. These are some of the big things I'm debuffing. I'm slowing things down. I'm jacking up recharge. I'm draining endurance. And if I got them drained, I want the minus recovery. Right now, the only minus recovery I have, I believe, is EMP. And does Ball Lightning have it? I don't even think Ball Lightning has it. So I think the only minus recovery I have is from EMP normally. Because Conductive Aura doesn't have it. Does Static Field have recovery? No, I think I saw it in Summon Guardian might have it in one of his attacks. So anyway, you don't have a lot of ways to keep people drained. So with Gravitic, now every time I attack, now my powers are going to apply that minus recovery. So if we take a look at what this is now doing, let's say Static Fields effects. Take a look at the change in numbers. Let me zoom in on this again. So gravitic, is it showing anything here? Oops, hold on. Let me shut this off for a second. Go back over here. Is it showing any effects there? No, not showing. It's not bleeding through here. Recharge minus movement speed. It should show up on static field. Lingering radiation, does it show there? Yeah, it's like the gravitic buffs are not carrying through to show you what they're doing. But anyway, trust me, you're going to be doing some additional debuff, and you can see it here. Minus 10% recharge. What is that? 10% slow debuffs. That's per hit, so 8.3 seconds. And I think it's going to stack. I think these stack 4 times, if I remember. So anyway, by hitting with multiple attacks, you should be able to get another 40% minus recharge, somewhere's in there, up to that amount, just by spamming the crap out of that. And minus 10% recovery, so you can get like a 40% recovery debuff. That's going to slow down the enemy's ability to recover from your end drain that you're stacking on, as long as you keep attacking. And then I got one of my favorite attacks Incarnate is Mighty. And this is going to go perfectly with this build because I'm going into melee. Got all this drainage going on, all this debuffery going on around me. Mighty allows me to just walk right in there and unleash a 20 mag knock-up boom attack on a bunch of fools. So should be some big damage on this thing. 880 something. Let's throw containment on there if they're contained. Does containment bleed through on Mighty? It doesn't appear that it does. Well, still, 800 and some damage. I mean, I think that looks like it's locked into containment already. I don't know. A lot of damage is what you're going to freaking do. And then the IDF Radial Superior Allies. So I'm going to have another summonable pet. The IDF has the little drone that has a resist shield. So that's what I want with that power. And then the boss has a bunch of cool rockets he shoots off of them. So those are my two. It's the Plasma Punch, Plasma Blast, Plasma Vortex. Okay, but the pet, yeah, I wish it could show up for me. Does it show up? Yeah, all right, there we go. Does this help? Yeah, that's the boss's numbers. Anyway, I've got the support little pet there to give me some more shield, some more resistance to damage. All right, well, there you have it. I mean, that is that's his build. I think it's pretty tough. It's going to be risky as hell on these 801s to get in there. So I would love to have a team with, let's say, 2 melee players there. Tank, brute, scrappers. A couple people up front that are not just managing aggro, but just like beating on some targets. Throw a nice AoE blaster behind me who can just destroy these targets that I got clumped. And then give me somebody who can take out some ranged targets. Throw a Dominator on there, some more, hard controls. Sentinel. I don't know. Give me a couple blasters. Tank, scrapper. I don't care. Something like that that can lay it out there to take advantage of what this character is going to bring to the table. All right. Well, that, my friends, is the end of this video as far as the build goes. What I'm going to do now is pause it and pull up some solo action with Trinkulo and go through some strategies and tactics and showcase some of what I've been talking about. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. It's set up. I thought this was going to be some council, but there was an old mission in my register here, and it's defeat boss name and guards, and then it's showing me Cray, but not any Cray I've ever seen before, so this will be interesting. I don't know what the hell to expect. But anyway, set to level 50 times 4. Sorry, level 50 times 8. This is Trinkulo. Let me spin around so you can get a look at him. There's my boy. And as far as slotting enhancements, it's like what I was just talking about in his build there. Everything is either +5 or attuned for the most part. Couple exceptions, but things that don't really need to be +5. And there it is. That's his powers. He's also got Incarnated up to tier 3. Slotted up, so I don't have any tier 4s. He's vet level 12, I believe, which is high enough to get all of your stuff unlocked, Incarnates, and all of your Incarnates tier 3'd out. I'm going to go ahead and get to the getting. I don't think I have any stealth in this guy, so. All right, so we got some Cray Ultraists. I don't know if these guys are in Callisti Wharf and now they're populated in Peregrine Isle since that patch update. But again, I've never seen this particular group before, so this will be interesting to see what happens. All I'm trying to do here is showcase or test what this guy can do. Talk about some strategies. Go through the basics. All right, so what do we got? Bunch of guys. Got a boss sitting over here. I'm probably going to toggle pull these guys, so I'm going to throw a toggle on somebody tough and then dip around the corner here. Throw a patch down. So let's do this. Let's activate our hybrid. I haven't played this guy in a while. Let me throw my static field right here. I'm going to throw my radiation infection on him right there. And a dip. Some of the gremlins as soon as they come around. Start getting the debuffs down. Radiation. Now this is where just the pain starts. guy at range. All right, this is where I can use my teleport. Like that. And done. Easy peasy. All right, so there's basic strategy, right? Toggle pull onto a patch, get the debuffs layered, go to town. All right, now here's something else you can do. I'll try this, the double pull. So what I could do is throw a toggle over on this group, throw a toggle on that group, and then pull them all to one central location. Let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to go ahead and eat a purple just so I don't get hit by something stupid. Let me put these guys in a passive. Get Ageless going. Let's toggle pull these guys here. Let's try this first. All right, that should bring them. Throw it on these guys. Go around here, back up here. All right, put my pets onto defensive mode. Throw my other pets out there. Teleport them in. EMP their ass. All my people on aggressive. So these Cray don't seem to be anything special. All right, easy. I also want to monitor. What is it? Is it damage bonus? Because I want to see when my buildup is proccing. There we go. All right, so that's how you can double pull using your two toggles. That's something that, radiation has a unique ability to do. All right, next thing we can do. Let's do this. Now, the other reason I took, or like AM, is because of the, like I said, the debuff, or not debuff, but control resistance. Let's get in their controls. I'm going to do a jumping teleport, see if I can grab this guy's upstairs. I think I got some. There we go. We got some guys coming in. Throw down another patch. So I like that my pet is able to heal from over there. Let's reach out and touch some of these guys. I can also teleport over there. I forgot. Where is it? There's my combat teleport. I got to get this bound key or something like that so I can more quickly do that. Like bind it to my letter T. Teleport to target. This guy's out of endurance. Done. Okay, very safe so far. Got guys over here. I'm going to toggle pull. Probably what I can do is I'll drop my sleep patch there. Throw this on them. Let's go to town. Teleport. That's what I was hoping for. Like a guy's coming in from over there now. EMP their asses. Blue Guardian's gone. Let's go to God mode. Not that I need to, but... So I got a bunch of guys at range. I want to teleport them in, but my teleport's down. Let me shut off some of these toggles that I don't need running. There we go. Teleport in. So I'm able to grab 2-3 groups at a time without much fear. And I can range reach out and hit people with Jolting Chain and my single target stuff. I am susceptible to incoming mez, though. That's another potential challenge. Because I don't have clearing on this guy. And I don't have, like, I don't have a lot of this typical stuff I would take on a squishier character. I also have the single target teleport if I want to bring in a single target enemy or ally. So I could grab this guy. Just slow. So it's another way to bring in a target that's maybe a runner or something. And there's the crash. That's the other reason for ageless right there. I would try to focus on getting my proc to fire. Okay, 2's over here. So I'm just going to go ahead. There's boss name. Do this. And I want to kind of use my line of sight blocking. I'm going to drop sleep patch around and then chuck lingering radiation. Let me do this. Grab a couple Skittles. Gonna drop the patch a little bit in front of the enemies because I know they're going to start to move and I don't want them to run right through it. So throw this and hit them with this. Get an immobilize on them. Whoa, that's some damage. Oof, that was some damage they just hit me with. Wasn't expecting that. Guess we don't lead with that combo. So I do have the damage bonus going with 60% now. Build up is proccing. Plus, I think that's my hybrid. Yeah, there we go. 124% damage. So the 60% must be from my hybrid stuff. And then when it goes up to 120, that's got to be the proc buildup. I think it's firing. And AM's going to give me the damage boost too. All right, that was interesting. I took a big hit there. So let's do this a little bit differently. My Moo-Moo's up again. Let me summon him. Get everybody on defense mode. I think I'm going to just pull them. Go. Hold on there. Hold on, guys. Don't get too close. A little bit closer. A little bit closer. Come on. Don't want to immobilize him yet. Knockdown proc from Ragnarok just went off. It's one of my favorite procs. Boom. Well, there you go. Only had that one scare where I should have led with my debuff. You know, I was kind of standing there out in the open, and I tried to do kind of cutesy with the slow. Slows aren't going to save you from alpha, as you just saw there. I almost got alpha to the hospital. All right, let me exit this. But that is it. That's how Trinkulo can work. I think you put him in a team scenario, he'll be able to follow the tank into a pack, start leveraging those controls and those debuffs. I can then pull in additional groups using my toggle if I want, or I can use the teleport, fold space, bring more enemies on top of us, and the tank should hopefully have a, or if I have two tanks or tank and a brute, people that have multiple, you know, aggro control resources, then I should be able to, you know, at will just bring stuff in and not have to worry about it, because the tank should be able to just pick it up. At least that's the idea. All right, that's the end of the video. Hopefully you had some fun checking out this build idea. Let me know what you think about it. Post your comments below. Any questions you have, and I'm going to go ahead and post this video up to the forums either this weekend or next week. In the meantime, I'll catch you later. Take it easy.